Welcome to the annual garden party speech. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, particularly Bob Whitmer, who usually introduces myself, and over 2,000 shrimp who are generously contributing themselves to the cause, it is a thrill to be back. I have had the honor of being introduced by Bob Whitmer the last 7 years, and he sends his deep regrets because of an unavoidable conflict. He can't join us today, but I feel the need to laud him as ever. Just a few weeks ago, he was recognized by the Rotary as the Person of the Year for service above self. And if there's any phrase that captures the character of Bob Whitmer, it is service above self. So in absentia, let's give Bob Whitmer a round of applause. Okay, so we've upped the ante this year. Sound effects, history. We're taking you on an adventure. And let's start with a poem. We shall not cease from exploration, and the end of all our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. We began as a university in 1850, opening in what was then the United States Hotel with a faculty of 8 and an enrollment of 82 students. It's hard to overstate the excitement of the university's first commencement. Thousands lined the streets July 9th, 1851, to see a splendid procession, reports Janice Petersy in what will be a forthcoming history of the University of Rochester. A brass band led the way from the U.S. Hotel to the city's majestic Corinthian Hall, where the first 10 graduates would receive degrees. The Rochester American rated the event as the largest and finest civic procession that had ever been seen in the streets of our city. Marching behind the band were the university janitor, grammar school students and teachers, university freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, city and county officials, guests, founders of the university, local church leaders, and prominent judges. Next were the graduating seniors, faculty, members of the board, Chancellor Ira Harris, and board president John N. Wilder, and last, the county sheriff. Martin Brewer Anderson, the university's first president, was not hired until 1853. He was an extraordinarily successful academic leader in his day, committed to high Christian education, consistent with the norms of many universities and his Baptist religion, who welcomed students who were Catholic, Presbyterian, and Jewish. For 35 years, Anderson would provide a steady hand at the helm, guiding the university through a near-fatal decline in enrollment during the Civil War. On November 23, 1861, University Treasurer William Sage, quote, read a trustee resolution that the university's new building, and I might add first building, mainly obtained by the zeal, labors, and the self-sacrificing spirit of its noble-hearted president, would be called Anderson Hall. University historian Arthur May explains, caught by surprise and deeply moved, the normally austere president could not conceal his emotions, but gravely bowed in response to the hearty applause, which the announcement touched off. President Anderson subsequently oversaw the move of the university to Anderson Hall, located on a dandelion-strewn cow pasture on Prince Street, donated by Azariah Booty.
Oh, the dandelion yellow, 'tis a color rich and mellow.
In 1893, dandelion yellow officially became the university color. Now, Anderson had some decidedly strong views that would not play well today. He did not believe that students should live in dorms. He disapproved of sports such as football as, quote, relics of barbarism. Now, in fairness, he may have been onto something. Our first football game in 1899, we lost. Cornell scored 106. We scored nothing. And I believe in true disclosure. Let the record reflect we've done better since then. Anderson did not believe that a college could properly perform its job with more than 200 students. When he stepped down in 1889, the university had an enrollment of 172. But Anderson possessed the most important qualification you can seek in any leader in a high-pressure job, a sense of humor. He once described the role of a president to a friend. The college president is expected to be a vigorous writer and public speaker. He must be a financier, able to extract money from the hordes of misers and to hold his own with the trained denizens of Wall Street. He must be a scholar among scholars, distinguished in one or two departments of learning, gentle and kindly in his relationship to students, and still be able to quell a row with the pluck and confidence of a New York chief of police. If he fails in any one of these elements, he is soon set down as unfit for the position. In looking back over my career, I am simply astonished at having been able to bear up under the responsibilities as long as I have. But bear up Anderson did. All that we have achieved in the 20th and 21st centuries would not have been possible without the exemplary start the University of Rochester experienced under Martin Brewer Anderson. We've come an extraordinarily long way. A few weeks ago, the university held 7 ceremonies for most of this year's 2,788 graduates. Our commencement speaker, Nobel laureate Steve Chu, a 1970 graduate of the University of Rochester, memorably remarked, "Do something you love, do something that matters. When you're old and gray and you look back on your life, you will want to be proud of what you have done." The pace of our university today is accelerating. Groundbreaking for College Town occurred May 2nd, 2013, with Senator Chuck Schumer, Mayor Tom Richards, and many other dignitaries attending. College Town will open in the fall of 2014 and will be a 500,000 square foot mixed-use development on 14 acres on Mount Hope Avenue between Elmwood and Crittenden, combining street-level retail, restaurants with outdoor patios, a grocery store, spacious sidewalks and boutiques with office space and residents in the floors above, a Barnes & Noble bookstore, a 150-room Hilton Garden Inn and Conference Center, and praise be, a new parking garage with 1,560 parking spaces. On December 19th of last year, Governor Andrew Cuomo announced that the Finger Lakes Regional Economic Development Council, which I have the honor to co-chair with University trustee Danny Wegman, was selected as a Best Plan awardee, receiving $96 million to fund 76 projects, including $4 million for College Town and $5 million for the Health Sciences Center for Computational Innovation, our partnership with IBM. In May, just a few weeks ago, the university held a dedication ceremony for Raymond F. LaChase Hall, the new home for the Warner School of Education. Raymond LaChase was the father of university trustee Wayne LaChase, a pioneer in Rochester construction industry and a noted philanthropist and supporter of education. LaChase Hall is the first major building to be constructed in the Wilson Quadrangle in 30 years. A 4-story, 65,000 square foot facility. It includes 14 classrooms on the first floor that will serve the College of Arts, Sciences, and Engineering during the day and the Warner School in the evening. This will be a momentous 100th year for the Memorial Art Gallery. On May 22nd, the MAG held a ribbon-cutting ceremony to inaugurate its new Centennial Sculpture Garden, featuring commissioned works by Wendell Castle, Jackie Ferrara, Tom Otterness, and Albert Paley. To symbolize the MAG's involvement in the Rochester community, the museum also removed portions of its wrought iron fencing. In October, the original MAG building will be rededicated 100 years to the day after its initial dedication. 2 of the university's music groups were invited to Washington, D.C. for special events. On January 21, violinist Choho Lam and Mariakin Melechenko, violinist Kelsey Farr, and cellist Hayo Kwan performed at President Obama's inaugural luncheon, playing, among other numbers, a notable instrumental version of our alma mater, the Genesee. On December 8th, Vocal Point, our all-female a cappella ensemble, gave a holiday performance at the White House. In February, 2 Eastman School of Music graduates received Grammy Awards. Renee Fleming was awarded her 4th Grammy for Best Classical Vocal Solo, and Bob Ludwig, the recipient of 2 earlier Grammys, received an award for Babel, the album of the year performed by Mumford & Sons. In March, the Medical Center's Department of Orthopaedics and Rehabilitation was ranked #1 in the nation in NIH funding for orthopedic research. And recently, the Medical Center was named a Center for AIDS Research by NIH, which will bring $7.5 million over 5 years to further our work on HIV/AIDS and places us among the nation's leading institutions engaged in preventing, detecting, and treating this horrible disease. Our differences, our strengths, our annual diversity conference was held on April 12th. Lani Guinier, a prominent civil rights attorney and first tenured African-American women professor at Harvard Law School, delivered a memorable keynote address. And in March, Women in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Entrepreneurship held its inaugural event, which brought together 36 women from 20 academic disciplines. WISTI chair and founder, university scientist Chao-Yu Kwa, launched the event by sharing her vision for the group to promote women in leadership in science, technology, engineering, and entrepreneurship, and to increase connectivity and mentorship among colleagues. Next year's College of Arts, Sciences, and Engineering class set a record with, it says here, 16,156 applications. But our ever-scrupulous staff was on the job. It's now 16,180 applications, unless more came in the last 2 hours, some 9% over last year's record number. And the Meliora Challenge Capital Campaign, our first comprehensive capital campaign since 1924, has now reached $935 million in gifts and commitments, 78% of our $1.2 billion goal. The campaign will continue until June 30th, 2016. Our progress so far has meant that we've created 64 new endowed professorships towards a goal of 80, raised $156 million for student scholarship and support towards a goal of $225 million. Important as well is the support from over 2,600 George Eastman Circle members, typically university friends and supporters, who have provided multi-year support for our annual programs. Notable gifts include those recently of Georgia Gosnell, who committed $5 million to name the neonatal intensive care unit in the new Golisano Children's Hospital and created 2 new professorships in the School of Medicine and Dentistry. Indeed, our university has been blessed with 14 new endowed professorships during the past year, including the Alan F. Hilfiker Distinguished Professorship in English, created by our longtime trustee and alumni leader, Alan Hilfiker, who has also provided support to the existing Alan F. Hilfiker Endowed Graduate Scholarship Fund and the Alan F. Hilfiker Endowed Undergraduate Scholarship Fund. On April 24th, we celebrated the installation of history professor Ted Brown in the Charles E. and Dale L. Phelps Professorship in Public Health and Policy. Between 1994 and 2007, many of you may remember, Chuck was our university provost. And Dale, a professor of pediatrics, served as chief of the medical center's neonatology division in the Department of Pediatrics from 1989 to 2000. This is a remarkable show of support from our university by our faculty. Indeed, let me praise our faculty further. Physics World recognized University of Rochester researchers, including Professors Kevin McFarland, Ari Bodek, and Steve Manley, who were part of a collaboration on one of the top 10 breakthroughs in physics in 2012 for their work demonstrating that neutrinos, a subatomic particle that travels near the speed of light, may be used in communications. Think of it a future in which there's the potential for communications between any 2 points on Earth without using satellites or cables. Perhaps cell phones, but we'll see. Bonita Boyd, professor of flute, was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award by the National Flute Association in recognition of a remarkable career. Dr. James R. Woods was the recipient of the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists Lifetime Achievement Award in recognition of his contributions to the advancements of women's health care. David Higgs, chair of Eastman's Department of Organ and Historical Keyboards, was awarded the Paul Creston Award by the St. Malachy's, the Actors Chapel, in recognition of excellence in composition, performance, and pedagogy. Dr. Nina Shore, the William H. Eilinger Chair of Pediatrics at the University of Rochester Medical Center and Professor of Pediatrics and Neurobiology and Anatomy, was voted President of the Child Neurology Society. Dr. Steve Feldon, Director of the Pflaum Eye Institute, similarly was named President of the Association of University Professors of Ophthalmology. David Williams, the William G. Allen Professor of Medical Optics, received the Antonio Champollion Vision Award at the ceremony chaired by the President of Portugal in an event in Lisbon. The jury described Williams' work on advanced optic technologies, quote, as a major breakthrough in the understanding and/or preservation of vision. Now, no garden party speech could possibly be complete without our path-breaking research in rodent research receiving some comment. For years, I have lauded the research of Professor Vera Gorbanova and Assistant Professor Andrei Solunov, who've made important strides in uncovering why naked mole rats, such as my friend here, do not develop cancer. They are absolutely tumor-free. Well, this year, in a significant expansion of the research, Gorbanova and Solunov broadened their research to include blind mole rats, which employ a unique scorched earth strategy, releasing a suicidal substance called interferon beta, which destroys precancerous cells. I want you to know one of my thrills last year was visiting the naked mole rat colony. Naked mole rats are cute, huggable, lovable, sweet, affectionate. Blind mole rats, in contrast, are thugs. They're bitter. They wouldn't let me get even close to the colony. Not that all of our breakthrough animal research this year was limited to mole rats. Impressive work by Professor Jessica Cantlin demonstrated that baboons possess basic quantitative ability. A lot of people, she explains, don't realize how smart these animals are. In the same way we underestimate the cognitive abilities of non-human animals, we sometimes underestimate the cognitive abilities of preverbal children. And in an instance of art imitating science, Spiderman made a much ballyhooed visit to downtown Rochester, landing, as I hope you all appreciate, immediately in front of the Eastman School of Music. This spring, a record 13 of our students were chosen to receive the highly selective Fulbright scholarships to study, teach, and conduct research abroad. And our athletic teams also were especially strong. Under the leadership of Coach Wendy Andreatta, the field hockey team made its first ever trip to the NCAA tournament and set a new university record for most wins in the season. Men's soccer competed in the NCAA championships for the 7th time in the last 8 years. The men's squash team captured its 6th straight Liberty League title and finished 5th in the nation. Head women's basketball coach Jim Scheible became the winningest coach in University of Rochester women's basketball program history with a win over RIT on November 27th, his 400th career victory. The Yellow Jackets won the Men's Liberty League Swimming and Diving Championship, winning every single event. And this year, the men's basketball team tied for the UAA Championship. Senior guard John DiBartolomeo was named the D3 Hoops Men's Basketball Player of the Year and is the first-team All-American. The women's basketball team also finished strong. Sophomore guard Ali Zawicki was named first-team All-University Athletic Association. Project Fusion, an award-winning saxophone quartet composed of Eastman School of Music students Daniel Espinoza, Matt Evans, Michael Sawin, and Matt Amadeo, won the grand prize at the 2013 Plowman Chamber Music Competition and first place in the 2013 Music Teachers National Association Chamber Music Wind Competition. And they can play much more. And soprano Adelaide Bodeker, also a student at the Eastman School of Music, won first place in the scholarship division of the National Opera Association's 2013 voice composition. So it's been a great year for us. Our major challenge next year will be developing a new generation of strategic plans. We've largely achieved the objectives of what we set out to do in 2008. When normalized for faculty size, using the most recent year for which we have data, we ranked 15th in federal research funding among the 126 leading research universities, with more than $400 million in total sponsored research support during the prior 2 years and $348 million in 2012. Faculty and instructional staff have grown from 2009 and 2004 to 2,557 in 2012. We've seen corresponding growth in our student body from 8,300 total students in 2004 to 10,510 this past year, effectively achieving a goal of our 2008 strategic plan some years earlier. New programs have been developed throughout the university, including 14 new majors in the College of Arts, Sciences, and Engineering, such as those in international relations, public health, and the Barry Florescu undergraduate business program. 20 new major facilities projects have been completed or initiated since 2005 with an aggregate budget of $700 million. These include the Eastman Theater renovation and expansion, Retner Hall, our new digital media and fabrication lab currently under construction, and O'Brien Hall, our new dormitory. In addition, we've helped facilitate the separately financed development of Brooks Landing and College Town. The medical center has been particularly active with new facilities projects, including the James P. Wilmot Cancer Center, the Saunders Research Building, and the Golisano Children's Hospital. The medical center, starting in June 2012, has implemented a comprehensive inpatient and ambulatory electronic medical records system, and a regional affiliation was completed with Thompson Health System in Canandaigua, New York. Since 2004, we have grown to be the region's largest employer with close to 22,000 full-time equivalent jobs, the 7th largest private employer in all of New York State, with an increasing role in the community as provider of approximately 47,000 direct and indirect jobs, $2.4 billion in direct and indirect wages, approximately $70 million in uncompensated health care, and since 1996, over 50 startup companies using university licensed technology. Nonetheless, we face a more challenging external environment today than we faced in the 2006-2008 planning period. Let me highlight 4 significant aspects of this changed landscape. First, academic health care. In 2012, 81% of the consolidated university $2.8 billion budget originated in the medical center. 66% of this total involved patient care. We own 3 hospitals. These high magnitudes for healthcare in the university budget are not new. As of 2005, approximately 80% of the university budget was in healthcare. What is new is the increased pressure on academic healthcare finances after the 2008-2009 recession and the enactment of the Affordable Care Act. With provider reductions in the Act, probable future reductions in third-party payer support for our hospitals, and a systematic effort, quote, to bend the cost curve in Medicare and Medicaid, our medical center faces substantial financial challenges in its clinical enterprise. Academic healthcare finance is the greatest area of risk to the university and the greatest area of uncertainty during the next 5 years. As we always have, we will manage the risk. But in preparing for a new generation of strategic plans, we, like hospital systems throughout the country, are highly conscious of the substantial challenges of healthcare finance. Second, sponsored research. I mentioned in 2012, $348 million was provided for sponsored research, approximately 14% of the overall university budget. The majority of this came from federal sponsored research programs, most significantly the National Institutes of Health, National Science Foundation, and the Department of Energy. There is little likelihood that federal sponsored research will significantly increase in inflation-adjusted dollars during this congressional session. This is markedly in contrast with the period immediately following the 2008 election, when the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act was, for 2 years, substantially increasing federal sponsored research, and the open question before the 2010 congressional elections was whether this level of increased funding would be continued. Third, tuition and technology. In recent years, an increasing number of outstanding students have sought admission to the most academically successful United States universities and college in what has been called a flight to quality. The University of Rochester, these high levels of applications are consistent with a widespread belief on the part of students that higher education is a fundamentally important investment in their future, and that education from a leading institution is the best type of educational investment. The accompanying chart illustrates the greater economic value of a bachelor, master's, professional, or doctoral degree, both in terms of average compensation and lower unemployment rates. But monetary value or lower unemployment far understates the value of university undergraduate and graduate education. We are proud of our commitment to liberal arts education. We are justifiably proud of our ability to teach critical thinking, to expose our students to areas of learning that are difficult to effectively comprehend through self-learning, to offer our students access to the extraordinary talents of our faculty, to provide classmates whose intellects, diversity, and energy often inspire the best in our students, as well as providing lifelong friends, relationships, or colleagues. We are sensitive to the impact of tuition increases, both because of the potential burden on our students and their parents, and the practical significance of tuition to the budgets of several of our schools. We will continue to be unrelenting in our efforts to be as cost-efficient as is reasonable and to moderate the rate of tuition increases at our university. To illustrate how these efforts have proceeded in the 5 years from 2004 to 2008, when rates of tuition increases were adjusted for inflation, they averaged 4.4%. In the last 5 years, they've averaged 1.1%. We're not alone in this. In recent years, the cost of higher education has been a focus of intense public debate. In the 2012 national elections, for example, the leaders of both parties emphasized reducing the rate of cost of higher education. Now, one fundamental question with respect to tuition is whether tuition cost in the future can be reduced because of online technology. The evidence at this time at universities like ours is decidedly mixed. An increasing number of programs at research universities, including those at our School of Nursing, have had some success offering hybrid courses, combining online and in-class teaching. In 2012, for example, 32% of all courses at the School of Nursing came in the form of online courses or hybrid courses. But there's little data that suggests that online education will result in substantial reductions in the level of cost increases at leading research universities. Indeed, none of the nation's leading research universities to date has committed to a shift in the residential undergraduate teaching model. More likely, new teaching technology will coexist with the residential teaching model. University education in our country is distinguished for its ability to assimilate change. In recent years, for example, we've been extraordinarily successful in using computer technology to amplify research and to provide information resources. This is one of the reasons so many students from around the world are flocking to the United States, because of the quality of our technology and our education. A final point to give you a sense of our changed environment. For several decades, three macro factors have been most significant for leading research in liberal arts colleges. In recent years, the segmentation of higher education has accelerated. As Moody's stated in 2012, quote, "We anticipate an ongoing bifurcation of student demand favoring the highest quality and the most affordable higher education options." There is also a widening difference in endowment resources between the best endowed and the less well endowed universities in what I call redshift, because of the way returns on endowment accelerate this differential. For example, if Harvard University, with a $30.4 billion endowment in 2012, experienced a 10% growth in endowment values, this would increase its endowment by $3 billion. At the University of Rochester at that time, with $1.6 billion, a 10% annual growth would only equal a $160 million annual increase. And further, to set the stage, there's been a progressive weakening of the leading public universities as a result of systematically reduced state support, as well as limits on tuition revenue and inflexibility with respect to student matriculation. It's striking, for example, that during the past 3 years, when our undergraduate College of Arts, Sciences, and Engineering has improved in U.S. news from 37th to 35th to 33rd, there are now only 5 public universities ranked higher. In 2001, when the University of Rochester was ranked 36th, there were 9 public universities ranked above us. I anticipate that these kind of dynamics are going to persist over the next 5 years. Now, against this background, the leadership of the university and the Board of Trustees are developing a generation of university medical center and school strategic plans to operate from 2013 to 2018. The university board began this effort last October. We intend to adopt new university medical center and school plans in October 2013. 3 themes are being emphasized in this process. First, continuity. While we've made considerable progress in implementing our 2008 strategic plans, there's much more to achieve to fully complete these plans. We've raised 78% of our campaign goal, way ahead of schedule, but we need to raise the remaining $265 million by June 2016. We are incredibly grateful to all those, including so many in this room and the spillover room, who've been so generous in their support. There are several capital projects to complete as part of our 2008 campaign, most notably the Golisano Children's Hospital, and several key goals that can be more fully achieved. Second, we will respond to a changed environment. While we face many new or increased challenges, the combination of efforts in federal and state governmental programs, quote, to bend the cost curve of clinical health care, and the seemingly permanent federal budgetary crisis dwarfs all other challenges for our planning. The most significant strategic consequences of the new external environment will be reflected in the medical center strategic plan. But for all our academic divisions, there will be a need to plan with the assumption that budgets will have to be disciplined during the next 5 years, with an overarching need to balance pursuit of existing or new strategic objectives with fiscal discipline. And finally, among the most important objectives of our next cycle of strategic plans is to continue to focus on our paramount university objectives. Our fundamental objective is to be one of this nation's leading research universities, which at the University of Rochester means strength, not only in research, but as a university based on a liberal arts undergraduate program with professional schools in business, education, medicine, and nursing, and an unrelenting commitment to the creative arts, led by the Eastman School of Music and the Memorial Art Gallery. There are significant opportunities now available to us because of our institutional strength and momentum. There will be a particular focus for the next generation of strategic plans. An emphasis in the balance of the campaign will be on strengthening our faculty and our student body and developing or enhancing ennobling programs, such as new programs in data science. The College of Arts, Science, and Engineering will build on its momentum in its residential teaching model to sharpen the distinction or communication of its programs by adding new majors or degrees and making greater use of technology to improve teaching, seeking higher levels of student retention, and identifying greater opportunities for student research. The Simon School has begun steps towards implementation of a new branch campus in New York City in conjunction with the School of Nursing and the Warner School. The Medical Center regional clinical strategy is anchored by formation of an accountable care network that will better align physicians and hospitals throughout a 19-county primary and secondary care service area. Eastman School of Music is contemplating new programs that may extend its undergraduate and master's programs, for example, potentially to programs that involve music management or new technology. And Warner is developing plans to add new online education programs. Like all universities and colleges today, we face challenges. And yet, more than any other social institution in our country, universities like the University of Rochester combine freedom, creativity, incredibly bright faculty, students, and staff, loyal alumni and friends who share a vision that we're moving towards a better world. I view our leading research universities as capable of a type of perpetual existence. Faculty at research universities will continue to assimilate ideas, methodologies, and technologies that are new while teaching the very finest students and preserving the most important elements of our ever-evolving culture. We will continue to do this well because we've consistently shown the judgment to effectively balance what is enduring in what we study and teach with the challenges of the future. Our next generation of strategic plans gives us the opportunity to articulate who we are and where we are going. We build on tremendous momentum and with the knowledge that we've successfully executed much of our previous generation of strategic plans. We will not be daunted by our challenges. We will continue to dream, no little dreams. Our work is never done. But I am thrilled to be part of a community of people who are so talented, dedicated, and enthusiastic. We will continue to make the University of Rochester ever better. Thank you. Now, some of you may recall, after my remarks last year, I had a surprise announcement. I intimated to my friends that Dolores Conway and I were engaged, and I am duly bound to report that we are now married as of October 7th of last year, and ecstatic and happy and thrilled to be back at the garden party. But there's a lot of pressure when you make an announcement like that. An unbelievable number of really pushy friends said, "What are you going to do this year?" So I am delighted to report that while I can never top that announcement, that was once in a lifetime, folks, I'm nonetheless the beneficiary of a particularly good friend, Bud Frame, Bud, if you'll come join me on stage, who has helped me orchestrate this year's surprise announcement. Bud is among our most generous supporters, and he has decided that I too should put on my yellow jacket. And I got to tell you, I'm not only putting on my yellow jacket, I'm rolling up my sleeves. I am thrilled to be at this university. We have work to do. But if I may close with the most quotable remark that our first president, Martin Brewer Anderson, ever made, we have only but begun. This is a community and a university on the move. Meliora to all of you. Thank you. Can I give you this? I think I got